Oh yeah, sexy biscuits. Nice.
Long boy clothes, 1975. A YouTuber's on the rise. Reviewing games late at night and sometimes friends used to bug. Long boys clothes, 1975.
Hey YouTube, Longboys Post 1975. This current statement I'm about to make means absolutely nothing to you because I don't know when I'll make this video live, but yeah, oi oi, to quote Space, you lucky people. 2 videos in one day. It's weird that it's, you know, 2016 is turning out to be a massive year of anniversaries. You know, I did a video on Sonic the Hedgehog, you know, a game that defined my childhood. Obviously Streets of Rage was also released in 1996, so you know, the 6 on the end of the digits I present before it are, you know, like, it's just, I don't know, all these anniversaries are arriving at one point, but there's one that I just have to talk about. I've ordered the completely new remastered copy. I'm a little bit annoyed that I can't seem to find it in any of the local shops around me on Blu-ray, and it's the well, you read the title. It's the completely new revamped remastered anniversary edition of Highlander. I still have my regular Blu-ray one. What can I say about this movie? I have sunk so much of my life into this movie. Now, if you expect this to be like some sort of, you know, technical review of the movie, you know, and quote proper facts and stuff like that, sorry, I want to talk about my love, my heart, my soul, and my investment in, quite frankly, one of the greatest movies ever made. This is my second favourite movie of all time. If you watch my channel, you'll know that. I've referenced it many times. I've done many videos about it. My most recent one was my top 10 favourite movies of all time. And this is second only to Back to the Future, which in other people's, like, sort of, you know, books would probably be considered like relegation, but nothing can touch Back to the Future. But Highlander, what can I say about Highlander? You know, the story of immortals, this race born at the dawn of time, travelling down through history, fighting each other, stealing each other's or absorbing each other's life forces to become stronger, good, some evil, ultimately fighting for the prize, which I always thought was a jip as a kid, which is mortality and the right to have children. But it's timeless. It's absolutely timeless. The production and the acting, you can argue, was of the time. But, you know, the concept of the movie means the fact that, you know, it's set in the Highlands of Scotland way back in the day, and then it's set in 1985, you know, New York and stuff like that. That's irrelevant, you know. Much like Back to the Future, you can look upon those times as they appeared in this movie, but they won't age because it's a story of time travel, albeit in this sense greatly different. Now, the reason I love this movie is I do like a good swashbuckling sort of romance movie, and this is that, but it's the whole time travel element and the people they cast in it and the clear bond they had on set. I think it's true that Christophe Lambert did he come off, and by all means correct me, came off the set of Greystoke, and he couldn't properly or fluently speak English at this point, so he learnt the script phonetically. Then you got Sean Connery, who's an absolute fucking idol in this movie, is Ramirez, you know, one of the most quotable characters in movie history ever. I dare anyone from my neck of the woods in my town, Bristol, who doesn't have one pint too swift or too many on a Saturday night after the football and then just starts quoting Sean Connery from this movie. But apparently they got on so well on the set that they actually referred to each other by their actual character names, which is just fucking awesome. And apparently Connery, well, all I can say is he liked his, you know, allegedly booze on the set and carried a flask or you know, a flagoon, if you will. But yeah, it's the story of immortals travelling down through time. Colin McLeod arrives to battle, you know, is it on the lakes of Glenmory, gets stabbed, gets killed by the Kurgan, who is another immortal from Russia. Clancy Brown, I believe, who's the voice from SpongeBob, who was completely allergic to his makeup in this movie. So there's, you know, like, commitment to your cause. Like, properly broke him out in hives and shit and blisters. And yeah, so Connor McLeod gets struck down in battle, and then basically he just gets healed. So his village gets scared of him and they drive him out, including his, you know, family members and his girlfriend of the time. Not going to count any of the sequels because they don't count for shit and they're all bollocks, and this should have been a completely independent masterpiece. And yeah, so he goes wandering, and he you know, he meets Heather, they start a new life, and he meets Ramirez, Sean Connery, in a very dramatic scene where Sean Connery, jumps over him on a horse and explains to him the quickening, and takes it upon himself to train this individual and explain to him, you know, the fact that you're, you know, the reason you were driven out from your village is you're different. You're, you know, men will fear you. You're something else. Trains him, and it's back and forward. Oh my god, cut jumps between the past and the present, and other points where they go throughout history explaining the fact that this man cannot die. And it was one of the first movies, when I first watched it as a kid, that explained to me, because you always wanted I don't want to die, I don't want to die, but it explains to you that immortality may not actually be the wonderful thing you want. It may actually be a penance or a curse to get to see the people, you know, you love die. It's got an amazing rocking soundtrack by Queen, absolutely fantastic. Anyway, that's enough of the movie aside. I want to talk about what it meant to me. I watched it by complete accident when we just got Sky Movies or satellite TV back in the day. And my dad's business partner, his garage, talked about this amazing movie he saw on Sky Movies called Highlander. Obviously released in 1986, so I don't know, was it 1989? I saw it on, you know, satellite TV. Maybe I was late to the party. And so my dad, you know, one night when it was on at like 9 o'clock on Sky Movies, sat me and my brothers down and just went, oh, by the way, my mate Rob, you know, my business partner in the garage, speaks really highly of this movie. And I think my dad was using it as an exercise or an excuse to babysit us, and me and my twin brother, my older brother, we just sat there like this. This is quite possibly the most amazing movie I've ever seen. Although I did say this, and I do remember saying this back in the time, after Back to the Future. And I was absolutely blown away. The concept, the time travel, the immortality, cutting people's heads off, the music, you know, the interaction with mortals who couldn't, you know, comprehend the fact that you couldn't kill these people, you know, police officers and stuff like that. The dark, you know, gritty visuals and stuff like that. It just left an amazing mark on me. And I do remember going to school the next day and talking to my mate, Luke Buckland. Luke Buckland, I'm going to put this on my timeline, and if you do watch this, please tell me if you remember this, that we talked about this on the school bus going into school. It might have been coming out of school, about, you know, I just watched Highlander. I just watched Highlander. And, you know, we were best mates at the time, but this made our friendship even better, and we just discussed it at length, and it was just absolutely fantastic. And I loved it so much that I sat there religiously. Do you remember when you used to do this, when you still had, you know, VCRs, and you stick a tape in and you put your fingers on the buttons and you would wait for it to kick in, and then you go click, because it wasn't out on VHS at that time, and I recorded it, and I even cut the label out of an advert for it, a really bad ZX Spectrum game for it, and trimmed it down and stuck it on the top, you know, of my cassette tape perfectly, and then stuck it in a sleeve, and I wore that tape out. I absolutely wore that tape out. I don't want to think about the number of times I watched Highlander, but as I said, everything about it, the chemistry, the story, so bittersweet. I mean, as a kid, made me fucking cry. Outgrowing your wife, you know, having to do all these horrible things, you know, your mentor. Although I will say this, Sean Connery or Ramirez could totally have taken the Kurgan. He didn't shoot his mouth off after he cut his gut and his throat and just cut his fucking head off. But I'm glad he didn't, because it would have ruined the movie. But I just have so many strong memories of this movie. I really do. You know, I go around Luke's house, we watch it. I mean, like I said, I wore my tape out. We watched it absolutely endlessly. We could quote it. We could sing all the Queen songs. I remember that when I was sitting through it one day and I saw the trailers go, because I used to keep my tapes going when I recorded them all the way up to the end, and I saw the trailers go up and it said, you know, soundtrack available on Sony, RCA Records, I don't know, by Queen. I think I remember literally the next day just running up to my mum just going, "You're going shopping today?" And this is before I had a car, obviously, because I was a kid. Like, just slapped money in her hand and gave her a piece of paper and said, "You must buy me this soundtrack." And then I subsequently wore out my Queen, you know, It's a Kind of Magic soundtrack, because it is absolutely amazing. Apparently they wrote Who Wants to Live Forever after watching a very early rough cut of the movie in the back of a cab on the back of a napkin, which is even better. But this movie just riles me up. The heckles on the back of my neck just stand up. I just sit and I annoy all my mates through the fucking roof by just quoting it from end to end. And I don't mean quoting it, I mean doing the entire dialogue of every character and putting on a really bad Sean Connery accent. I mean, like I said, it's like with Back to the Future. How many movies can you say as an adult have affected you? And you could almost argue that a movie that's fantasy and schlock should possibly not have the same effect upon you, again with Back to the Future, that something that's based on fact about a real, you know, horrible event that happened. But it did. It did, you know, this whole sword fighting, this fact that even when they're in the future, alright, granted it's 1985, they're still going traditional with the weapons. That's the only way to kill them. Clancy Brown is absolutely phenomenal in it as the Kurgan, absolutely amazing. It's just everything about this movie makes it a perfect movie. You know, if a movie makes me, Dave, well up, then it's a perfect movie. But then you got other memories of my life about it, which was, I didn't realise that the UK or the European version of this movie, and we're talking VHS here, and the version I saw on Sky Movies, was what was later to be referred to as the master version or the director's cut, because there was an elephant? That would be bloody awesome. Element in a church with the Kurgan where he licks a real priest's hands. Sorry, spoilers. And that was a real priest, and they asked the church if they could film in the church on the condition that they would pay money to help them repair their roof, and that was deemed too sensitive by the American censors, so that was cut out, as was the scene, one of my favourite lines, which is, "Shh, it's a kind of magic," where Connor rescues the young girl from the Nazis in Germany, Rachel, who later on becomes his secretary. You know, everything in this movie just ties in perfectly. The jump backwards, jump forwards, the way they do it, like with the exploding scenes. Yeah, and I was completely blown away, because I remember when I was on holiday once in Toronto in 1996, and we were in a Blockbuster, and I saw this 10-year anniversary of Highlander on VHS, and I was with my mate Jeff, who, you know, lived in Canada at that point, and he knew what a massive fan of Highlander I was, and he just went, "Dave, Highlander, 10th anniversary." So I bought it, we went straight back home, we watched it, much to the dismay of his girlfriend, who was like, "Can we do something else and watch Drew Carey?" And we're like, "Shh, Highlander." And we both sat there and literally at the end of it just looked at each other like this, just went, that was exactly the fucking same as the movie I grew up with. But it was because all the stuff that was cut was deemed too sensitive for the North American market. I still have that version somewhere. And again, ignoring all the sequels, but everything about it just evokes a memory and a passion and an emotion in me. You know, the final fight between Connor and the Kurgan is just absolutely fantastic. And yes, I know, elephant in the room, you can see the wires suspending Christophe Lambert up, but it's still absolutely fantastic. You know, other bits where they go into the bar at the start, and he first meets I can't remember her character name, but she was played by Roxanne someone, and Just One Year of Love is playing by Queen in the background on the jukebox, and you know, she's talking to him, they leave the bar, and then he protects her from the Kurgan with just like an iron bar. And when he meets up with Fazelle, and he's like, he bangs on the desk and he just goes, "Time has caught up with me, my friend. This calls for a party." And then they show the bit where Conor McLeod's infamous duel when he's pissed out of his box on Boston Common, and the bloke keeps stabbing him, can't kill him, and Conor doesn't fucking care because he's pissed as a wanker. Every moment in this movie is just absolutely fantastic, and just linked together. And maybe I'm still looking at it through child's glassy eyes, but then I don't want to look at it in any other way because it's fantastic. Especially, it was filmed on a very, 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 very low budget, but the special effects are still fantastic and they still hold up. When you cut someone's head off, sorry, spoilers, and the quick thing happens and the lightning flies around and hubcaps fly off cars, oil pisses out the bonnet, windscreens shatter, stuff like that. You know, the dialogue between the bent cops and Conor McLeod, you know, with Garfield. I'm not going to say it here now because technically it'd be really offensive if I say it. Just go and watch the movie. Everything is about it, and it's so bittersweet when it ends. And obviously he's dead at this point. Again, spoilers. But when you get his Sean Connery's voice at the end. But that's the one thing I will always say about this, and I will always take about it. And if I'm bored and I don't feel like watching the entire movie, I will always bookmark the points where Sean Connery trains Conor McLeod, and says one of my favourite lines ever, which is, "You can't drown, you fool. You're immortal." It's just one of those movies. I don't think, you know, with this boner Hollywood has for CG right now, we'll never get a movie like this. And if they remake it, much like Back to the Future, I will fight them. This is an absolutely fucking fantastic movie, and it's 30 years old, which ordinarily would make me feel old and feel sad, but just makes me feel I'm glad that I was there pretty much at the start. Utterly, utterly amazing movie. If you haven't seen it, I implore you to watch it. You will thank me, and hurry up and arrive my proper shiny remastered 4K version, because I really, really need to see you in the full daylight of fucking majestic technology magic. Highlander, 30 years old. Where does the time go? Sorry, I've waffled and bumbled, but there's a reason it's my second favourite movie of all time, and it's just brilliant. And like I said, it's weird when you get to these moments in your life when you realise you're old, but sometimes things like this make you happy that you were there, that you saw it, you know, at the start. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later.